Okay, Caryn, hello. Really lovely to have you here today. We really appreciate you giving us your time. What we're going to do today, we're going to just talk about a little bit about your company. We're going to go into depth and just hear about your company, what you do, how amazing it is, and actually the challenges that have been there on the way as well to your success. And we're going to talk about, it's inevitable, obviously, about what's going on in Ukraine. But let's start with just introducing yourself a little bit for our listeners, and just a little bit about your company as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so nice to meet you, Matt. Happy to be here with you today. My name, as everybody heard, is Caryn, and I'm one of the co-founders and the CCO at KOYA Innovations. And the whole premise behind KOYA is to help people connect in more meaningful ways. We started KOYA 3.5 years ago as a family. My dad is a serial entrepreneur and innovator. And so I grew up and my sister grew up seeing him innovate and like bring home different prototypes and hear him talking about technology and how we could use it for good and thinking about, the future of tech and the future of the world with technology in it. So it was super normal for me growing up in that type of atmosphere to kind of be primed to do a startup essentially.
It's kind of within you, who you
absolutely.
are.
I feel so lucky because it was so normal. So the thought of actually starting a business together as a family was honestly quite a dream come true. So we started 3.5 years ago. And like I said, the premise is all about these more meaningful connections. So when we started KOYA, we actually started as a B2C company because we were like, you know what? I was traveling a lot overseas for work. So was my dad and my sister, and we kept missing, special events and birthdays and all these things. And we were trying to figure out ways to kind of make it easier for people to show up when they couldn't actually be there in person. So my dad's specialty is in geofence technology and time mapping, and mine's in creative direction and storytelling. My sister's in marketing. My mom's in community building. And
God, you've got the whole lot, the whole team.
I'm like, let's do this. I think we can actually maybe pull this off. We'll see. And if not, it'll be an adventure in and of itself. So we dove in together and started creating this product, and it was great. And we had a lot of users, but we kept trying to figure out how we were going to create revenue. And the requests we kept getting from people that used our product was, do you have a B2B version of this? I want to use this in my business. I want to use this because I'm a realtor and I want to use this with, my customers, my clients, or I am a manager of remote teams and I'm trying to create, a way to stay more connected and that's more personal. So we kind of not quite pivoted, but we just added on and decided to put a focus on the B2B model. And so that's what we've been up to recently. So by combining media, event triggers, customizable gifts, KOYA helps people have this unique experience for both their customers and employees alike. We like to say that we put the relational back in CRM.
Very nice.
So that's kind of a little bit about us and where we're at right now.
It definitely seems like, it's one of those things that you've all got all parts of the business, just in your family. So it kind of just fits together like a puzzle. But obviously that does bring some challenges, I guess, at the same time being a family. What have been the challenges, obviously, working as a family on this?
Yeah, I mean, for one, I think you see each other's strengths, but you also see each other's weaknesses so up close. And so just learning how to grow in compassion for each other and remember we're all human. That's been definitely part of it. I think when people ask, do you feel like, running a business with your family is more risky than with co-founders that you wouldn't know? I actually say I think it's less risky because we're blood relatives. We know each other so deeply and so well, and we're all really committed not only to seeing KOYA thrive and make an impact in this world, but we're all equally committed to each other's success and seeing each other thrive in this process. So a co-founder that I might not know, I might start to grow and compassion and empathy and wanting them to succeed. But the level I have of those qualities already
next level,
family,
isn't it?
Is already so high. I'm willing to do anything to see them succeed. So, and they're, the same with me as well. So
absolutely.
I feel like it's definitely an advantage. It is hard though. When you have those high highs together, it is so fun. You have those low lows and it's
all together.
Well, shit. We're all in this and it's we're all drowning together. You know, I
You need
can't
someone to pull you up, you know?
No, I know. I'm like, I can't call up my sister or my mom or my dad and be like, I just had the worst day at work. You know, they're like, me
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
too. Tell me
That's
about
a huge challenge, definitely, because it's difficult to find that person to go to, you know, just when you need that that moment to be like, oh God, okay, this is not working today, but everyone is in that same boat. So
Right. So like staying positive, that's definitely been something that we've learned, and honestly has been really a gift. Is most of us are pretty like glass half full, but there are moments where, you know, sometimes it's just like harder and you're going through it. So it's been nice to see that we're able to typically balance each other out with like good days and bad days and hard moments and good moments.
What was the thing that made you, because obviously being a family decision, what was the thing that got you to this 3 years ago? Why 3 years ago did you get here? And yeah, what was the thing that brought you together for this moment?
Yeah, so 3 years ago was my dad's birthday, and we always talk about, you know, what are things that just like highlights this past year and what are your hopes and dreams for this next year. And his hope and dream for that upcoming year was to start a business as a family.
Wow.
So he had just, his previous company had been acquired by Adidas, and he worked with a brand for, I think it was like 8 or 9 years. And he was just like itching to start something from the bottom again, like with his own hands. He had been like overseeing the future division of Adidas, and like, you know, would look at trends 5 to 15 years down the road and create patents for them, help them get like, you know, a step ahead of other competitors. And so it was cool, but he couldn't see the follow through of the whole journey of all the things that he was innovating essentially and creating patents and ideas for. So he was generating all these ideas, but amazing human, brilliant mind, but he wasn't able to see the whole process through, and he was just wanting to do that again. So I think he told himself, which I didn't know this, but he told himself after his last startup, if I do a startup again, I really want to do it with my family. And he's joked about like doing startup together as a family, but he was really serious this time. So we at that dinner table actually came up with the idea of KOYA and how we really felt like it could be impactful in the world.
And
what
a big lunch. Yeah,
seriously, I know. Before dessert was out, before we even blew out the birthday candles, we had like the, you know, stereotypical napkin drawing with like the details of what we were planning on doing. Amazing. And we left just excited and buzzing and, hey, full of possibility. Like this could maybe happen. At the time, my sister and I both were traveling overseas. I was overseas about 80% of the year at the time. And so it took a lot for us to actually get there to finish out international contracts, commitments. So from between February and October, we kind of like wrapped things up. And then we joined full time while doing kind of KOYA on the side. So it took a little minute to fully jump on board, but we were all really excited to see what we could create together to, you know, make an impact. I think,
and actually something you're committed to. Then, if it took you obviously from February to, was it October? You said to obviously to tie all these things up. It was something that you all thought, no, we're ready for this. We're ready to do it.
Absolutely, and it was cool to see equal excitement and commitment on their end too. Like we were all like, let's actually make this happen. Let's do what we need to do to make it happen.
What an amazing story, you know, just the kind of your dad's dream, which came all of your dreams as well together over one lunch for his birthday. Absolutely amazing. Obviously 3 years ago, so 3 years ago is when you founded the business. There's been a lot which has happened in the world in the last 3 years.
Tell me about it.
So how have these challenges really influenced what you've been doing? Has it made it more challenging, or has it been beneficial?
Yeah, I would say both. For sure. For one, I think COVID really woke us up collectively together for what's really important in the world, connection being one of the main ones, which is a big part of our value with KOYA is like helping people connect in more meaningful ways. So previously, before, when we were starting to talk to people about our idea, they were like, oh, that's cool. That's like that's nice to have. But when people started actually experiencing loneliness and started feeling it themselves firsthand, they weren't able to go out all the time. They were in their apartments or homes, and they were doing everything remotely, not having that daily human interaction with so many people that they used
Absolutely.
to. Yeah. I think the value proposition started sinking in of like, oh wow, we do need connection as humans. It's not really a want, it really is like a basic human need. And so I think it did push that that empathy and understanding, that people were able to kind of hop on board and be like, yeah, this actually makes sense. I can see this being necessary, not just fun to have or nice to have type of product. And I think too, like, we had done research, and loneliness is like, what generates from loneliness is like depression, like anxiety, suicide, like so many different things. And so I think it took all these stats that were out there, like, and not like, I don't know, just like more like a stat, like not, and it brought it home for people. They're like, oh, I can see this. I can
actually, this affects me too. Yeah, I feel this.
Does affect me. Yeah, absolutely. So that was really positive, because, I mean, COVID was terrible, but at the same time, I think it did wake us up to what's important.
Absolutely. And it gave people what they needed at that time as well, wasn't it?
100%. And then from the work perspective, I think everybody realizing, oh, we can do a lot more work remotely. We can be productive remotely. We don't all have to be together. That was a positive thing for us too, because yes, it's helping us be able to grow, and it's also helping people realize, okay, so we're not having these like water cooler interactions as much. How can we utilize technology to start incorporating that more into our daily habits and routines? And that's part of what our product does. So it also helped people understand from a business perspective the value that we offer.
So it actually seems like it was very good timing. Yeah, very, very good timing. You know, it worked out quite well.
Yeah, we couldn't have paid for the brand awareness, like PR, like the reasons of why this would be necessary. I will say, it hasn't been until probably like the last 6 months that people really have had those aha moments, because you know, you can go so long like in isolation and like running through things, and you're basically in a trauma response. So
and then you realize, don't you? Yes. Oh my God. Yeah, I haven't been out for a year.
Absolutely.
I haven't done anything. Yeah.
I was like, we've really got to change this. We've got to fix it. Companies, we're seeing so many companies put money aside for products that are helping them connect better with their employees and customers. They're really increasing this like budget, which is awesome because they see the need for it. So it did take a little bit of time, I think, to feel that pain, to see it, to recognize it. And then now they're actually starting to do things about it, which is good.
Absolutely. What about now? So obviously that stage is finished, the beginning stage of COVID. What about now? Now COVID's obviously, luckily, as we hope, is going down. How does this kind of affect your business now? What kind of plans have you got in place? Where do you go next?
Sure. So what we're doing right now is we are just coming out of our private beta mode with the B2B product. So we already have like a wait list of 2,000 people, over 2,000 people ready to use our product once we're live. We have like several LOIs in place, which is really exciting. So I think where we're going from now is, like, this week in Austin is South by Southwest, which is, you know, a huge event. The first portion is very tech specific and focused. So last night through Monday is like all of these tech events. So a lot of networking, a lot of getting out there and actually talking to people in person, which is new.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, like,
oh my God, there's not a screen.
I know. Last night at the event, my sister and I, Courtney, we were looking around and we're like, does everybody seem really uncomfortable? Like, and I just felt like everybody's like trying to figure out, how do I socialize in person again? You know,
I've forgotten it, you know?
Yes, I forgot. What do I do? You know, and so I think that will be for sure a big part of us moving forward, is interacting more in person, doing more events, getting the word out, shaking hands, showing people how we want to show up. So that's for sure.
New challenge, new step, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm excited for it though. I love people. I love being with people in person, and so I think it'll be really, really nice to get real live responses and in person than sending emails or doing things remotely, especially
Absolutely.
user interviews. Like, what part do you get stuck on? How can we make this product better for you? All of that I feel like is better in person. So I'm excited for that. I
Absolutely.
think also it will be easier for us to scale in person, like having meetings, with potential clients and companies.
Quicker, isn't it, as well? It's so
I
much
think
quicker.
so, because you can show up and have your personality online, but there's so many things you miss, so many cues you miss, and you can't really feel the energy as strong as you can in
Very true.
person. So I'm really looking forward to that, to being able to like show up, shake hands, hear what problems businesses have, and like figure out if we can show up as a way to provide a solution for them.
Absolutely. And okay, so you're talking about obviously getting out there now, yeah, speaking to people, shaking their hands.
Yes.
How, at the beginning at least, how difficult was the fundraising part of the business, finding investors? How difficult was it, and what kind of advice could you give to our listeners? What was kind of your methods of finding the best investor for you?
Yeah. So I have multiple parts to this, but I'll make it quick.
Good.
So before COVID, I'd say we raised a friends and family round, and we honestly thought we'd have no problem raising money at all. Like, we'll just start with a friends and family round, build, develop, and then once we have a live product, raise funds. Once we had a live product, we started going out there, and because my dad has a previous, successful exit, we thought, oh, no problem. But with 3 other female founders, it actually was a problem. People were hesitant. They were hesitant because we were family. They're hesitant because they're like,
Interesting.
1 male, 3 females. Even with diversity and inclusion and trying to have more underrepresented founders, supporting them and backing them, it still was a bit of a problem. So we had so many meetings and just kept realizing either the terms weren't good, or it just didn't feel like the right aligned fit. So we kind of stopped fundraising. We didn't take any additional outside funds. And then during COVID, we started trying to raise funds again, and just realized pretty quickly it just wasn't the right time. So we didn't even go very long with trying to raise money. We had a bunch of meetings, maybe in like a 2 or 3 week time period. And we're like, you know what? This just doesn't feel right. This isn't where we need to be. So we decided to put our heads down again and just continue to iterate, develop this B2B product. And we decided, since the B2B product will be generating revenue, we would rather just continue to keep our equity and see this grow with our own revenue. And then later on, we'll be in a better position to raise money, and hopefully people will be able to see the value clearer because of where we're at with COVID and because of where we're at as a company. So we've only done the friends and family round, and I'm really glad we haven't taken additional funds, because the people we were considering before, they weren't aligned, and I think they would have stopped us in our tracks. My advice would be, to answer your question, make sure that whatever investors you align, are aligned with you, aligned with your vision. They aren't just in it because they want a return, but they actually want to see your success, and they want to see an impact in the world. That's one of our
in
main
it together,
values.
in it together completely.
Absolutely. Like, if you're literally getting in bed with someone, you're in it for a long time. Like, there's some statistic out there that says that a partnership with investors is longer than some marriages last. And so you really want to make sure that you're aligned, that you feel supported by them, that you can trust them, that they also have wisdom and experience in your industry and can open up doors. It should be beyond just a check that they offer.
Absolutely. It's not just a business, is it? It's not just a partnership between your business. It's a matchmaking process, isn't it? And if you
don't show up desperate, because
exactly. It's your business, and you want to find someone that fits you. So not just go out there and take this. You need to find, what works. And that's obviously a part of the secret of your success then, is that when you kind of adjusted to the situation, didn't feel right, no, we're not doing it right now. We'll come back to this another time, perhaps. You also mentioned there, obviously, about 3 females in the company, three females, and then obviously your dad as well. Gender equality, something that I see as well on LinkedIn that you're very big on. How has that been over the last 3 years? Have you seen some kind of difficulties? Have you faced any difficulties?
For sure.
Or has it been, okay, interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, I have been in countless meetings with my dad, virtually and in person, and people's response, I'd say 9 times out of 10 is that I'm his assistant, or that
Wow.
I am just his
Mhm.
wife showing up just to have a meeting, like just to like
Mhm.
listen and not
Tap on
even.
the shoulder. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I mean, my dad looks great. I mean, I wouldn't be ashamed if someone thought I was his wife. Like, it's not like that, but it is kind of like a slide, just that people still, there is some hesitation, and there still needs to be development in regards to how we approach female founders, how we support them, and recognizing, oh my gosh, they have so much to offer.
Absolutely.
There is this story I read the other day, and it talked about female founders and how they won't even apply, not even female founders, just females in general. They won't apply for jobs unless they feel like they're 98, 99% qualified. Whereas like
Wow.
their counterparts, male co-founders, they would apply for jobs that they were like 60% qualified, because they were like, I'll fake it till I'll make it, I'll learn, I'll grow. And when you show up differently, I think women for so long, there's been so much oppression with like, you can't do it, your place is in the home, you don't know as much, whatever it is. We're still trying to kind of come out of that, like quite a long while of having those messages put on us. And so I think
Definitely.
as a result, you don't have as much, there's a lack of like confidence and feeling like you have to be perfect, absolutely perfect in order to qualify for something. Whereas men, I think in general, I'm not saying every guy's like this at all, but just in general, I feel like there's a lot more confidence. And if you look at history, even, it's kind of like, you can do anything. If you're a guy, you can do anything. Just
As you
put
said,
yourself
fake it
out.
until you make it. Absolutely that. You don't have to be qualified. You can just walk in and, oh, yeah,
Right.
okay.
Right. And especially in more of like a guy's world, like it is
True.
a bit of an advantage.
Exactly. Mhm.
So, and especially with connections and business connections, like I feel women have to work a little bit harder. From my experience, at least.
What
And
can
from,
you do? What can you do for that though? As in
yeah,
tech, what can women do in order to take that control, take that kind of, instead of thinking that they have to be 98, 99% perfect, what can they do? What have you done?
yeah. I mean, I think it is really changing the narrative. So individually doing inner work and just being like, it doesn't matter that I've heard these messages before. I know I'm enough. And so I choose to show up that way. Then I start, I'm recreating those neural pathways in my mind personally, and then just encouraging other women to do the same. I was talking to someone yesterday and she didn't want to apply for a job because she was like, I don't have experience in this. I was like, what?
Wow.
These are the
Hmm.
experiences I see that you do have. So maybe just like focus on all these incredible qualities you do possess. Let them see how amazing you are, and then let them decide if you're qualified or not.
Absolutely.
So just like
Hmm.
choosing to be advocates of women, as a woman myself, and like, men as well, like just encouraging female counterparts to go for it. To just reminding them like, you've got this, you are enough, like you can soar.
Believing in yourself, I guess, more, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I mean, I think the VC world is slowly starting to shift to have a focus more on, equality and inclusion and diverse founders. And so I think that will probably take a lot longer. But in the meantime, I think female founders that are back, that do have successful companies, we can start encouraging and mentoring other people, as well as when I start becoming an angel investor, which I totally will, I know that I can change the narrative myself too. And I can be really
Absolutely.
proactive about the people I choose to invest in. So making sure I don't repeat history as well.
I think that's exactly it. You need to get out there. You need to show that you are exactly the same, if not better than some of them, some of them or all of them. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
And I think it's the point of, not believing in yourself. If you apply for the job, as you said, they can decide if you're right for the job or not you don't know. So
absolutely. And it's
absolutely, yeah.
taking control, like what you can control, which is how you show up. I mean, everything else might take time to change, but I can still choose to make powerful choices in that process.
Exactly, yeah.
And I can control that, which is great.
Absolutely. Very interesting. What about okay, let's go to more I don't know if it's something that you do, but outsourcing. Perhaps outsourcing is something that you have done. How do you approach outsourcing? Is it something you stay within the States for outsourcing, or do you start looking elsewhere?
Yeah, we've definitely outsourced before, and we've outsourced with people in different countries, both in, stateside, but also in other countries as well. I think similar to just this thought of like women in business, it's just like looking for the best talent and not looking at where
Yep.
someone's from or whatever, but just like, how are they showing up? What is their work like? Do we want to be aligned with them? Do they understand our vision? And would they be a great team member? So that's kind of how we've approached things. Currently, we're all internal, so we don't have anything outsourced at the moment. We have a part-time full stack developer that works with us, and that's the only other person besides our founding team of 4. But in the past, that's kind of been our model of how we approach outsourcing. And I think the only thing I'd consider besides like, you know, people's talent and making sure they're aligned with your vision and like vibe well with your company and your team is considering time zones. Just because it's not hard to consider, but just make sure, like, I mean, when we did calls, a lot of times we'd get up really early in the morning and it'd be like their afternoon. And so just taking into consideration, making sure it works for you. But I feel like if you find the right people that are fit for the job and like incredibly talented and believe in what you're doing, not just they want to work with you to make money, but they believe in what you're doing.
They want to be part of it. They want to be part of you, of your business.
Yeah. Make it happen. Like make that time zone work for you, because you know the kind of quality and the heart and the passion that's put into the project will be exponential.
Absolutely. And very, very true. It's that point of if they want to do good, they will. If they want to be part of the team, they will. They will find the means to do that, won't they?
100%. 100%.
Very nice. Okay, let's talk a little bit about obviously the inevitable at the moment. Ukraine, what is happening in Ukraine, the war on Ukraine. It's really interesting for me and for our listeners and for us at Relevant to hear your opinion, because obviously with your past as an international humanitarian photographer, I believe you were, obviously it's something that is quite closely connected to what you were doing, humanitarian work and the humanitarian crisis, which is going to come of this.
Absolutely.
What have you been hearing in America? What's your kind of this situation? What's America been showing and this? Is it been something that's very, very much heard in the news constantly at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely on the news daily, and Twitter, Instagram, just like everybody, we're all talking about it. I feel like as we should be. It's not, you know, we should be talking about relevant things that are happening in the world, and this deserves our attention more than just how's the weather today, you know? So I am thankful that it is top of mind for everyone. I'm really deeply entrenched in like the startup ecosphere, and so I think I have a better pulse on that than like America as a whole. But even like in my, you know, little world, it's like people, you're talking about outsourcing, and so many people, part of their remote team is in Ukraine, and they've gone from co-workers to like friends, and in the process of working together, and so they're just devastated. And obviously all of our thoughts and prayers are for, you know, peace and resolve, and we're hoping that something amazing will happen sooner rather than later. But it's just it should be talked about, and I'm thankful that it is top of mind for everyone, because it's a big deal.
It really is, and you know, it's one of those things that the more we talk about it, the better. The more we talk about it, we need it to be out there. We need the news cycles they go so quick these days. If something happens, people forget about it after a few weeks. And I think the more we can keep this in the sphere of everyone's attention, then the better it will be for ending the war as soon as possible.
100%.
So we can only hope for the best here, but.
Oh, absolutely. I think for me, I was talking to a friend the other day, and I said, for me, what feels really interesting about this situation right now is because of my background, I would have been overseas by now, you know, with my job. They would have sent me to the ground, you know, and I would have been hearing these stories firsthand, and, you know, taking photos to document, to bring, you know, visual aid and storytelling to people that aren't in touch with what's happening. And I believe visual storytelling is one of the biggest ways to actually move people, because you remind people of the humanity of the situation. This could be your sister, your brother, you know, your cousin. Like, this is another human. This isn't like so far removed. This is close. So it is really interesting, actually, being in Austin and not being overseas right now. And I think for me, it's been interesting because it's like, how do I help? Besides staying educated and up to date with what's happening and providing resources for my friends that are like, oh, what organizations are good ones that I can actually send money to help with aid right now? I'm like, oh, here's some quality ones you can send money to support right now. I've loved seeing how cryptocurrency has actually played a positive role in this situation. I think that's beautiful. I think that further shows us the value that cryptocurrency can provide, even in aid and crisis. So I definitely, I'm hopeful as well. Like you said, I'm hopeful.
It's all we can do really now, isn't it? We can talk about it as much as we can. As you said, we can donate as much as possible to the right kind of institutions. And actually, it's very important what you just said about obviously the photos and how these tell the story. Words are words, but those photos that you see when, unfortunately, you've got those people laying on the ground, or if you've got houses smashed to pieces, basically, these are the things that really move people. So yeah, most definitely. Obviously, I actually live in Ukraine, not right now, obviously, but being there as well, all of my friends, co-workers and stuff, it's a very difficult time for all of us, but for them, obviously, their home, their place, 100 times worse. But they're very, very strong people. They will always hope for the best. They are extremely strong. And I think that's what they proved to the world so far,
Absolutely. Resilient is definitely a word I would use as well.
Here we go. Yeah, exactly. What do you think more so for the industry? How is this going to affect the industry? Do you see it in the States right now? Is it starting to affect? Are people starting to be a bit more careful, planning for some kind of war? Or is it not really got to that point yet?
I mean, I would say that's been in conversations, but I haven't seen anybody prepare. So it's more talked about, like, could this happen? Is this where we're going? What do you think? But I wouldn't say I've seen preparations, be put in place as a result. It's been a bit more trying to assess the situation, trying to figure out what next steps would be. So, I want to say, like, I'm still thinking more like for my tech ecosphere.
Exactly.
But still, even that, I think everyone I've talked to, the focus has been how can we support, remote team members and like friends that live there, more than like, preparing for shifts in the business and like how things will operate. I'm wondering, you mentioned earlier when you were talking about like outsourcing and like thinking about, is that positive or what my thoughts are. I do wonder if that will be a consideration with businesses and like startups. But I hope it won't deter people, because I think now more than ever, like people like Ukrainians are needing our support. The last thing they would need is for someone in the startup to be like, oh, you're not able to make the deadline. So that would just be terrible. So I would say, if anything, I really am hopeful that my counterparts in the startup sphere are able to support and give grace and compassion and help to their remote team members instead of like pulling away at such an important time. And then in the future as well, I hope that it's able to really get back up to a thriving ecosphere there.
We're hoping stronger. We're hoping even stronger than it is. We've seen how people are uniting at the moment. We're seeing how strong the people are, as we've said, resilience. But that was actually going to be my next question. So it was very good that you answered, because it was going to be, how is it going to affect the outsourcing part? And Ukraine is huge, obviously, in the tech sphere. And obviously now investors will start to think, can I do this? Can we do this? But I think, as you said, what we're seeing so far is really, really positive calls of, you guys are great, you work hard, you can do your job as long as you're safe. Where's the problem? We're here to support you in this time of need.
Yes, absolutely. To pull support away would just be so selfish right now. So exactly. I really hope that startups are able to see bigger than themselves in this moment, and to be able to provide more support than pull away because it's inconvenient. It would just be terrible.
It really would.
It really, I mean, come on, like really. Like,
this is the time we need you the most.
This is the time that's really needed for you to support.
Absolutely. Caryn, thank you very much. This was a really, really interesting conversation with you. I know you're busy, so I'm not going to take much of your time. But thank you for your time today. Again, really interesting. I wish you all the success, and your company and your family and everyone there. And yeah, hopefully to connect with you soon.
Thank you, Matt. I enjoyed this conversation as well. Truly, it's good to talk to someone that is willing to dive into harder, things that are relevant and important and should be talked about. I think people sometimes shy away from conversations that could potentially be uncomfortable, but it's so necessary. We're humans. We need to support each other, and we need to be able to know what's happening in order to be able to show up better.